You should have closed your windows and got another dog. You should have chained up all the doors and switched up all the locks. And how many times have I prayed?
This is Larry Connors USA. Larry Connors USA.
Dr. Fauci, I believe you have testified that you didn't give any money to the Wuhan lab to conduct gain-of-function research. Is that right?
That is correct.
How do you know they didn't lie to you?
Excuse me, sir?
How do you know they didn't lie to you and use the money for gain-of-function research anyway?
Well, we've seen the results of the experiments that were done and that were published, and that the viruses that they studied are on public databases now. So none of that was gain of function. So
how do you know they didn't do the research and not put it on their website?
There's no way of guaranteeing that.
Oh, my gosh. That is Senator John Kennedy, Republican of Louisiana, questioning the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Senator Kennedy's not going to call him by Dr. Fake. I can, but in decorum and being polite and proper, I will add that. Senator Kennedy is calling him Dr. Fauci. I still say Dr. Fake, but I also say now pretty naivete. Yeah, that word that it came to mind immediately as I started listening to that is jaw-dropping. The definition of being naive, lack of experience, lack of wisdom, lack of judgment. An example given, his greatest fault was his political naivete, innocence or unsophistication. Some of the material is laughable in its naivete. Pretty laughable with Dr. Fake there, as when simple question, a very simple and direct question from Senator Kennedy during this testimony. How do you know they didn't lie to you? And Dr. Fauci says, pardon me? He heard the question. He heard the question the first time. Quentin's sitting in there nodding. Yeah, he heard it. He's thinking, uh-oh, how am I going to answer this? How do you know? Well, boy, and then it is the proverbial snowball going down the hill and is getting bigger and big. Stand back. We do not know how big this one's going to get either. You've got Dr. Fake, a scientist, which we're told follow the science. Listen, I know, I understand, I'm going to grant the fact that being a scientist does not mean he knows really all about the political mechanic abilities and so forth of a car necessarily. He doesn't really know all about politics and global politics. I understand that's not his field of study. I grant that. But is anyone out there listening right now, whatever your field, whatever you're in, and I'm not trying to dismiss anyone. I'm just trying to say if you are a waitress at a restaurant or a police officer on a night shift or a truck driver or just a stay-at-home mom, do you not believe and know that China would lie and probably would continue, as with Russia? Would you believe anything they simply said and take it as fact? I don't care what their past is. I don't care how many documents they present in front of you. You're just going to accept it without question? Apparently, Dr. Fake was operating in blind faith.
They're very competent, trustworthy scientists. I'm not talking about anything else in China. I'm talking about the scientists that you would expect that they would abide by the conditions of the grant, which they've done for the years that we've had interactions.
So you don't think the Chinese would lie to you?
Well, when you say the Chinese are a rather broad group. I know the scientists that we've dealt with have been trustworthy.
Mm-hmm. You think all the scientists have told the truth in terms of the origin of the Wuhan virus and not been influenced by the Communist Party of China, do you?
I don't have enough insight into the Communist Party in China to know the interactions between them and the scientists, sir.
Are you not, Dr. Fake, aware of any events in this world? Are you not aware of what the Chinese communists stand for? And you don't know what the relationship would be with their scientists? Now, I'm going to stop for 1 second. He knows that 3 of those scientists were, in fact, going to hospital in November 2019. Now, I don't know at what point he learned it, but we all know it now because of a New York Times report the other day. Our intel agencies found that out, so I assume Dr. Fauci knew it. So at that time, I mean, all 3 of them suddenly going for the same flu symptoms. And then, of course, when word starts trying to come out and there were reports that they were actually welding doors to homes and apartments shut in the Wuhan area so people could not leave. And the premier said no flights from Wuhan into Beijing, cordon them off, just stay in that area, but we'll allow them to take flights to the U.S. or anywhere else in the world. And he's saying, well, I don't really know how they operate with. Here's how they operate, sir. You watching this? With a gun to the head. That's how they operate. You step out of line. And, of course, the whole issue about gain of function, that was the whole deal. Now, Dr. Fauci admitted, well, we gave a modest amount of money, talking about $600,000 spread over some years. And it went through a special group that, in turn, gave it to another group, and in turn, it ended up with the Wuhan lab. But he said, no, we were not giving any money for gain of function, which means finding a way to weaponize a new illness or disease or something, plague, that we can use against other peoples and other nations. He said we were not part of that, but yet he really doesn't know. Back to Dr. Fake as he's being questioned by Senator Kennedy.
I want to be sure I understand your testimony. You didn't give money to the Wuhan lab to do gain-of-function research.
That is correct.
And you believe they didn't do gain-of-function research because they told you they didn't.
We've seen the results of the studies that they conducted, and they were not...
Including any private studies.
Excuse me? Including?
Any private studies.
I'm not sure what you're getting at, sir.
Here's what I'm getting at. You gave them money and you said, don't do gain-of-function research.
Correct.
And they said, we won't.
Correct.
And you have no way of knowing whether they did or not, except you trust them. Is that right?
Well, we generally always trust the grantee to do what they say, and you look at the results.
Have you ever had a grantee lie to you?
I cannot guarantee that a grantee has not lied to us, because you never know.
You never know. And especially with China, we just got to accept it. The word gullible come to mind, in addition to being naive and absolutely clueless. And this is a scientist, someone who knows how to supposedly trace things and document point by point. And I do have one question that Senator Kennedy raised, and I actually have somewhat of I would make an amendment. Let me put it that way. He said, so you gave it to them and told them not to use it for gain of function. And Fauci said that's correct. I don't know that the grant ever said anything about not to be used for gain of function. I haven't seen it, but I'm willing to bet there are no words in there that you cannot use this money for gain of function. I'll bet it doesn't exist. I could be wrong. But the bottom line is he was just willing to accept whatever they said. Just accept it. And you recall when Trump began to raise some questions about what we're getting and how the Chinese are cooperating and the money that went into the lab and everything else. I mean, immediately the leftist wolves were let loose to chase and hunt him down. And anyone at all who said anything about a conspiracy theory of a man-made virus. And now Facebook has suddenly said, okay, it's all right for you to go ahead and do that. You can put it on Facebook. We won't take it off, and we won't put up comments saying for real information, go here. I still want to say more about that in a moment. But that's where we are at this point. And it was politicized when everyone is trying to say Trump was politicizing it. You're entitled to say that, but you cannot deny the other side was actively doing the same. And the nation, in fact, the world, was caught in the midst of all of this. So it wasn't just our nation and China and Trump and Democrats. It was around the world. And the death toll has been staggering around the world in the process. And the House has a China task force. And one member of it is Congressman Guy Reichenthal, a Republican of Pennsylvania. And he said, I never really bought into this doctor fake.
I was skeptical of Dr. Fauci from the very beginning of this. And remember, Fauci has been wrong over and over again. Early on, and back in January, he said America has nothing to worry about regarding this virus. He then criticized President Trump for the travel ban from China. And then he said that decision by President Trump actually saved lives. He blatantly lied to Congress about masks and the American people, saying they don't help. And then he said that, oh, no, I was lying so we could hoard PPE. He's been wrong this entire time. And when Tom Cotton and myself were saying that this virus probably originated in a lab in Wuhan, the lab where they were doing gain-of-function research on zoonotic bat-borne diseases, he was the one saying that was a conspiracy theory. He was the one pushing the real conspiracy theory that this virus originated in nature.
Yeah, but now Fauci is saying, we don't know. Well, then how could you be so damn determined to tell us it was this and only this? And I'm the scientist. I have the degree. You don't. And then there's, of course, this relationship between Dr. Fauci's group, or I'll say Dr. Fauci's group, and the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease, and the rest of our nation, and reliance upon the World Health Organization and China. And here came another question from Senator Kennedy.
Can we agree that if you took President Xi Jinping and turned him upside down and shook him, the World Health Organization would fall out of his pocket?
I don't think I can answer that question, sir. I'm sorry.
Well, do you think that the President Xi Jinping has undue influence over the World Health Organization, do you?
I have no way of knowing the influence of the president of China over the WHO.
Okay, so you think the WHO is a completely independent body, level playing field, call it like you see it, and they really want to get to the bottom of the origin of the virus. Do you believe that?
My interaction with the WHO and for Dr. Tedros, the Director General, has been one that I do believe he's a person of high degree of integrity.
I got it. You're not. You're just going to plead ignorant again. If you are in charge of the agency like Dr. Fauci is, wouldn't you want to double check information and sources and who you're relying on? I mean, really. I mean, could I just walk into his National Institute and present myself as Dr. Larry Connors here, and I'm ready to work on anything you got? Here are all my credentials. Oh, don't bother checking them. I got them. In fact, I got these in China. They gave them to me. So, okay, you're good. You're good to go. And then, of course, we got Biden suddenly jumping on the train because he realized, I got to get on this train. It's pulling out. I got to, even if I grab the last rail of the last car. Stand by, please.